Hello, Spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of Storytime with the Scariest Podcast.
Woo! How's it going? I forgot to button my shirt, too. We're having a really bad intro right now, but I think it's kind of charming, and we hope you like it.
I'm still chewing a sandwich.
So I'm Adam Diaz. This is Robin Grace. This is where you say hello.
Oh, hello.
And we're going to read you some homegrown horrors, which are stories that you folks have sent us. Robin, give them an in-depth description of what a homegrown horror is.
So homegrown horrors are the lovely stories of supernatural, paranormal, spiritual experiences, night terrors, sleep paralysis, what is that?
Coincidences where things you thought were scary turned out to be completely benign that wound up being hilarious. Those are always really, really fun, too.
Yeah.
So if you have any stories like that, please email us. The email address is storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to our website, scarish.com, click on Contact Us, and send us your story that way. You can go to all of our social medias, facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Twitter is @scarishpod, and Instagram is @scarishpodcast. Feel free to reach out to us however you would like. And if you want to reach out to us and say, yo, dogs, like, please don't read this story, I just want to talk to someone about it, we are absolutely available for that, too. Quick shout out to everyone who is watching us because these episodes are recorded live every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is around what time it is right now. And you can watch at youtube.com/scarish, twitch.tv/scarishpodcast. So fun stuff. I will say, we only have 4 today. They're all kind of long. We're going to switch to 4, I think, for a little while. Some of the episodes have been running kind of long. We had a few folks tell us, like, you know, when you did the 4 Storytime episodes, those were, like, spot on. And I know a lot of you folks, like, make them as long as possible. But we're probably going to do 4 for a little while unless we get a giant influx of emails again. And we're trying to, like, burn through to catch up. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We haven't discussed who's going to go first. I think it's going to wind up being me, though.
Sweet.
Okay. So,
I'm going to have my glasses.
The first email, I will say, too, if you guys hear any background noise, everyone can blame Robin's sister, Liz, who is joining us in the studio. Liz has helped us with so many things on this show. Shout out to Spooky Sis, who she went with us to the Winchester Mystery House. She did all the photography. She did the videography. She did the editing for that entire thing. So thank you to her. She also did.
Stick your hand in there and just wave.
She also she made my favorite sticker that we have, which is the Betsy Burger sticker. So shout out to Liz. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into the first one. Shout out to Laura Ann 588, who just resubscribed.
Thank you so much.
With their Twitch Prime, which they acquired by linking their Amazon Prime account to the second month. And the message they subscribe with is, woo!
And if you folks don't have Amazon Prime, if you go to scarish.com, go all the way down to the bottom, you can get 30 days of free Amazon Prime just by going through that link.
Just try it out.
Take
that money out of Jeff Bezos' pocket.
And then connect it to your Twitch.
And if you already have one, and that means you get 5 free dollar dues once a month to give to a podcast. Well, I won't say podcast, but give to a Twitch channel. We'd prefer it if you gave it to us. But yeah, spend that money. So I want to say before we get started, I don't know why I just thought of this, but something happened on Tuesday. We did our episode, came out. Great reception. Thank you, folks, for that. And I was like, we're going to get a lot of talk about human sacrifice. We're going to get a lot of talk about the EVP stuff. I made some awesome, funny jokes that I thought everyone would be hyped. And all that anyone has been talking about
is north, south,
east, west, and how you remember it. Because I said never eat soggy Wheaties or never eat sour watermelon. Those are the two I was raised with.
Someone at work said never eat sour waffles.
It's a bunch of different stuff. So I don't know exactly how you folks. It's funny because we usually do this or that, team fan or team no fan, and it divides everyone, and we pick something, and we're all just very different. But I'm going to go with never end scary-ish wooing from now on.
Oh, wow.
Because I think it works perfect. So There you go. That is for you. Teach your kids, and then make them listen to our podcast when they get old enough to understand swear words. So, going to get into this first story of the evening, and the subject is fucking Adam and his recovered memories, which I think is a solid way to start out. And it says, hey, Paige again. Hey, Paige.
Hello.
So, the more I listen, the more stories I have. I'm blaming Adam and all his talk of recovered memories, so that makes sense. Here are a few dreams I've remembered while listening. If you're still reading emails, you can read this one. We are still reading emails, so thank you for that.
Nice.
And this first, subsection of the stories, title is The Asshole Brain of a 9 or 10-year-old. When I was in 5th or 6th grade, my mom and I were living with her uncle and his wife. They have 2 kids, so my mom and I shared a room, but she was gone a lot. I started having nightmares where people in my family would die in the most horrific ways. Those nightmares are horrible. I have those nightmares as well as an adult, and that sucks. And they'd happen every single night. In one, my grandma and I were walking somewhere, and she went across the street and was hit by a car.
What the F?
Right, this is intense. Or my aunt would be stabbed, my sister was kidnapped, her dad, in parentheses, my ex-stepdad, drowned. Everybody would die in these dreams. I had these dreams for weeks, but my mom was never in any of them.
These are horrifying.
Until the last dream I had like that. In this dream, she took me out to lunch at a restaurant we'd never been to. I remember that I had a sandwich on my plate and a lemonade to drink while my mom had a burger and soda.
I don't like where this is going.
She got up to use the bathroom and took her purse with her. I sat there for what felt like forever waiting for her. I finally got up and went to the bathroom. When I got there, all the things from her purse were on the floor and there was blood everywhere. I woke up screaming. My mom, aunt, and uncle all came into the room freaking out. My mom held me until I went back to sleep, and the next day she made me a dream catcher and bought me a wind chime in the shape of an angel. She told me the dream catcher would filter the dreams, and if any got through, the wind chime would catch them. We weren't and aren't religious, so I don't know why she picked that wind chime, but it worked. I still remember all of these dreams like they happened yesterday, and I hate them. I don't know what was going on with my brain at such a young age, but it sucked. So that's awesome that the Dreamcatcher worked.
I've never had one.
I think I've been given one. I think my dad had a really big one, but I've never had one like in my room or anything like that. I mean, I could try it. I have nightmares all the time, so I might want to give it a little shot. Yeah, I was
gonna say
as soon as it doesn't work, though, I'll be like, this thing, horse shit, and I don't want to offend anyone's culture because I'm snarky like that. But yeah, I just never tried one.
Wouldn't it be crazy if you got a dream catcher and you could tell when it started catching your bad dreams because it started turning a different color? Like, say it started turning really dark or something like that because it's catching those bad dreams.
Because it's filtering that stuff out.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It's like Freddy Krueger shows up and you like look at your watch like, hang on a sec, bro. Hang on. There. Yep, there you go. You're getting filtered out. He's like, no. Poor Freddy Krueger. All right. So the email goes on. This next one is called People Outside the Window. On a much lighter note, as I mentioned in my last email, my mom and I sometimes have the same dreams. When I was 16, my best friend, in parentheses, Kelly, was spending the night. She had woken up in the middle of the night to hear me sleep talking. I was whispering and told her that there were people outside the window. She asked me who, but I stopped talking at that point. Later, the next day, my mom was telling us about a dream she had where people were trying to break into the house. They apparently started at the front door, but moved to the windows. She didn't see them, but knew because I had told her and had told me to be quiet. Kelly freaked out and told both of us to shut up because we weren't helping her get over her night terrors. That is hilarious.
That is hilarious. And that's really cool that you could share dreams with your mom, but at the same time, that's really creepy that you would dream the same time about something so scary, you know?
It's really,
I don't like strangers outside my window, outside my door, outside my house. I don't like strangers in general.
I think it's really cool that you were able to have this validated by your friend who you also terrified. Like, that's always fun to get validation, to be like, I'm not crazy, we're not making this up. And to also scare your friend, that's like just a win-win right there. So this next one's called No Fucking Decaf. And it starts out like this.
Wait, what? No fucking...
Decaf.
No. Like, no.
No fucking decaffeinated coffee.
Okay.
I tried to wake my mom up one time so that she could take me to school, and I opened her bedroom door and quietly said, Mom, are you awake? She sat up and yelled at me, I told you, I don't want any fucking decaf, and immediately laid back down.
Oh my gosh.
I closed the door and left her alone for a bit. I eventually woke her up and told her about it, and she asked me why I tried to bring her decaf fucking coffee. We've talked about it in my adult life, and she still acts like it's my fault. And then for my last one, which is titled, Noping the Fuck Away from the Dragon. Okay. This is either high adventure or about heroin.
What?
Chasing the dragon? That's what they call it. Like, you got to chase that high after you do heroin the first time, so then you keep chasing the dragon. Yeah, dude. You've never seen that South Park episode where they make a game called, like, Band Hero? I think they actually call it Rock Band. Or Guitar Hero, and like Stan gets really good at it, and then he starts being shitty because he's like being an asshole, so he starts playing a different game where all he does is like inject heroin and chase a dragon, and he's like, I gotta chase the dragon. It's just, okay, I'm gonna get on with this. So noping away from the dragon. The first lucid dream I ever had was when I was a teenager and I was stuck in a lake, basically drowning. Okay, so they had the dream when they were a teenager. In the dream, they were stuck in a lake, because that would be a really weird time to be like, I'm gonna try a lucid dream right now. So they were stuck in a lake, basically drowning, and there was a fucking dragon trying to eat me. I was swimming towards the shore, but no matter how hard or how fast I swam, I couldn't make it. I started to tread water and looked up. Something in my head clicked, and I realized I was asleep and that I couldn't be hurt. Suddenly, the water level started to go down, and I told the dragon to go fuck itself. I woke up shortly after that and was very happy with myself. That's it. Keep on creeping on. Oh, they aren't black or scary, but here are my omen babies. The orange one is Franco after James, not Dave.
Wow.
The fact you make that distinction means you definitely have a favorite there. And the calico is Tiny Cat. Not her actual name, but it's what we call her because my boyfriend gave her the stupidest name, which is not shared with us. Because
now we need to know what the stupid name is.
Yeah, that's where it ends. So now we need to know.
Yeah.
We need to know about your other dreams, but more importantly, we need to know the name of this cat.
Also, I mean, come on. Decaf is a nightmare.
Decaf is a nightmare.
Yeah, that's just the worst thing you could ever give someone.
Also, Dave Franco is more talented and more attractive. Just going to put that out there.
The younger brother?
Hashtag controversial opinion.
I like the younger brother. I think he's attractive.
Okay, I'll be real about this one. I don't want to like set too many people off who are like, I'll fucking kill you. I think Dave Franco is more attractive. That's just me. That's my personal taste.
They both have like crazy eyebrows though. I don't know.
Yeah. Dave Franco is consistent in the fact that he's good in movies for me. James Franco has two modes. Oscar-worthy or putrid garbage. Like, you see him in 127 hours, you're like, holy shit. Like, that was incredible. And then you watch Spider-Man 3, and you're like, fuck that guy. Like, he basically showed up, like, laughed his way through all of his scenes like, this movie sucks, collected his paycheck, and bounced. And I just feel like that's James Franco. Like, did you watch him host the Oscars? That dude did not give a shit, man. Like, if you're such a good actor, pretend like you care for 3 hours. Did you watch his roast? Yeah, I did watch his roast.
Was it good?
It was all right. I've watched all those roasts, I'm pretty sure. So I just don't remember any individual performances except Gilbert Gottfried, and I don't remember what roast that was on. But him and Snoop Dogg basically went up. Snoop Dogg went first, then Gilbert Gottfried, and it's some of the funniest shit you'll ever see. So, right on.
Well, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sending that.
So, this next email for the night is titled Random Paranoia, and it begins. Hello, Robin and Adam.
Hello.
Hello. My name is Rebecca, and I've been listening to your podcast for about a year. Anyways, I'm here to share a few stories. Sorry, but they're so long. I figured I'd share them all now. Hope you enjoy them, and feel free to skip some stories if you'd like. I think you'll be fine.
I think Rebecca sent 2 emails, and one will be on the next show, because we're only doing 4, and someone slipped one in before she got her second email in. So, don't think we skipped those. They're just coming at a different time.
Okay. So I really don't believe in paranormal due to a religious family, but I've had a few things that creep me out / make me paranoid. Wait, so a religious family doesn't believe in paranormal activity?
Not all. Some religions are very different. Like, I dated a Jehovah's Witness chick when I was in, high school, and their family was just very adamant, like, we don't believe in ghosts, we don't believe in spirits, we don't believe in stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff in particular that they're like, we believe in these specific things, and the other things that are like more paranormal, we don't really believe in that. There are a bunch of different practicing Jehovah's Witness sects, I guess you could call them, just basically depending on where you are in the country, that have like different, like, I won't say, it's like different levels of like belief. I know some people who are just like super laid back that have never like witnessed or knocked on doors, and like I knew some people that was like every day, like they'd go to school, then go out with their family and knock on doors to preach the word. So that's the one I'm familiar with. So there's probably more out there. So there you go. You're welcome.
Cool. So first story goes, as a child, I had imaginary friends like most kids. I don't know about most kids. I never had one.
I didn't either. You're a weirdo.
Did you have one?
I'm kidding. You're not a weirdo.
My sisters never had one. I don't know. We've just never had any.
I didn't have one. She didn't have one. Our niece has one.
But my older sister didn't have one either. I think it's...
Robin's basically really illustrating how abnormal you were as a child.
No. But it's just like, I find it completely fascinating. And I love hearing about people's imaginary friends and how they interacted with them. And we don't get enough feedback on that. I feel like people don't really message us a lot about, hey, I had this imaginary friend growing up.
I agree.
If you folks do have experiences and stories like that, let us know. We would love to hear about you having imaginary friends.
We'd love to hear about how weird you were as a child.
Shut up.
I was a weird kid and I didn't have an imaginary friend. I'm like,
I was
kind
a
of
weird
upset at
kid.
myself.
My mom and dad just made fun of me because I didn't walk normal till I was like 10.
It's not a weirdness so much as it is like a disability, I guess.
It's fucked up.
So why don't you keep going?
Okay, so the imaginary friends. Mine were 2 monsters. Neither of them had faces. One of my friends named Lemon, who was yellow, and the other one, which I guess was my enemy, was orange. All right. The color orange. So now one day I awoke from a nap and we had a round table with a long tablecloth over it. It went down to the ground and Orange ran after me. I started crying, not knowing where anyone in the family was, and I ran outside to find everyone on the front porch. Now, whether these friends were actual beings, I've got no clue, but my mom definitely remembers this happening and me talking about my monster friends. I find imaginary friends so fascinating. I have a collection. Oh, the second story. I have a collection of plushies, like my Supernatural plushes and Dan and Phil ones, and I have them on a bookshelf in my room, and surprisingly, I'm not paranoid of them, but I've had moments where a doll or plush will make me very uncomfortable. I was actually laying in bed listening to your podcast when I hear a tap on my window, which I just made up an excuse of it's a bug, since it was night and I had lights on in my room attracting bugs to my window.
Was it tap, 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 tap? Seriously, though, like that extended warranty
Oh my
on
gosh.
your car.
That was...
It's a funny joke. I don't care what you say.
Okay. I simply look over and a dog plush of my cousin's was on my desk, and for some reason I just felt very uncomfortable since its face was towards me and it just gave me chills. So I moved it out of sight, which is a solid move.
Right? Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. Third story goes, we have a long hallway and at the end of my room and my mom's room. In the middle of the hall, we have a bathroom and a playroom off to the sides. By playroom, I mean we have a room with toys for my baby cousin, and it creeps me the fuck out. I always turn the light on in that hallway and run past the room. Dude, I totally do that sometimes when I'm really paranoid and scared. I will run past a dark room because I'm just like, I can't risk seeing something in there. I just can't.
I got really creeped out. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast. I might have. But I woke up at like 3 a.m. like 3 days in a row. And that last night, I was like creeped out when I woke up. I didn't even know what time it was. I just woke up. I was like, I have a really bad feeling right now. Like a really bad vibe. And I was like, I need to go to the bathroom. Like, I need to pee. It's like, I'm going to stay in bed though. Like, I'm not going to get up.
Did I scare you one of those nights?
No. Like, I got up. I think a different night you decided you needed to pee. And like, you go to the bathroom. I leave the lights off. You can kind of see in the dark. Just enough to aim. And then I was coming out, and I, like, opened the bathroom door, and you were just standing right there. Like, you didn't knock, you didn't try and come in. And, like, as soon as I opened the door, you're like, I need to pee. I was like, holy shit. It's terrifying. I got super
there's
creeped out
one night he woke up at, like, 3 in the morning, and he just tells me, hey, I woke up at 3 in the morning again.
It was that night.
And I just don't even open my eyes. I'm like, that's weird. And I just go back to sleep because I don't care.
Here's the deal, man. Like, if we get haunted and there's a demon like at the door, I will warn her. She'll go back to sleep. I'll be like, I tried. Like, I'll find a new co-host.
If there's something really scary, our dog will wake up.
Yeah, she did, though. Remember I told you she, like, came out from under the bed and was like, or no. Our dog that usually doesn't sleep under our bed was whining. And our dog from under the bed came out and laid down next to her. I told you this shit. You just don't remember anything because you're a human Etch-a-Sketch. It's because you get abducted and they flashy thing you. Oh, wait, no, the Men in Black do that. You get abducted by people. Kidnapped.
You're so dumb.
Whatever.
Okay, anyway. My mother thinks I'm insane being a 17-year-old teen and still running past a room out of fear. What can I say? It scares me. I totally relate to that. I totally understand the feeling. Paranoia, sometimes it just happens. Fourth story. One night, I really had to pee. What are the odds? So I went to the hall bathroom.
I'm going to fucking soundbite that. What are the odds thing? That's going to be an emote on our stream.
So I went to the hall bathroom. Shut up. I hate you. Okay. Shit. So I went to the hall bathroom, one in the story above. As I was using said bathroom, I started to hear a baby crying. No.
That just reminds me of Hill House. Like that whole monologue that guy has where he tells him, like, maybe your wife should take some time away. And he's like, it's not your place. Then he gives him a monologue for 5 minutes about, like, all that crazy shit that happened to him in Hill House.
Yeah.
That is just, like, the best scene in that entire series.
Which, again, creeped me the fuck out since there were baby dolls in the room next to the bathroom. I then realized my baby cousin was over and I had a wave of relief flow over me, which is nice because if there were no babies, then what? Fifth story. I have moments when I'll just be walking and think I see someone sitting in our living room. Front room next to the front door out of my peripheral vision. Every time I turn around, nothing is there, which creeps me out. Sometimes my paintings have the same effect on me and I'll think it's a real person and flip out. Those 5 stories are all from my house / my grandparents' house / real house. Nice.
Lots of houses.
Yeah, paintings, sometimes pictures and stuff like that, if I stare at it too long, they look like they start to move. But that's just because I'm staring, you know, and your mind wants to do something with the stuff you're
it's
staring
like staring
at.
into a mirror for too long, especially if it's like a mirror across from a mirror. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like doing that.
I swear, man, like I used to get my hair cut, excuse me. I used to get my hair cut in Portage, Indiana. And it was like an old-fashioned barbershop where it had like 10 chairs on one side and 10 chairs on the other side. And I would like sit there and you'd like obviously be pointed at the mirror. And on the other side was the other mirror. So you just see like layer upon layer of you getting your hair cut. And there was just one time I could have sworn like I saw like 10 layers deep just do something different than what I had done. It was super creepy.
Maybe it's just like time.
It's because you stare at it for so long. You're like, did that match up to what I just did?
Who knows? Maybe it's another dimension. All right, continuing on. Nothing has really happened at my dad's house, mainly just my stepsisters being dicks when we were younger. Maybe it's a good time to mention I'm an only child who lives with my mom and grandparents. Anyways, my dad lives out in the middle of nowhere, which means my main fears are spiders, wild animals that could tear me apart, and just murders out in the woods.
They're solid rational fears.
Solid fears. Strangers being murdered out in the woods. Yeah, I think that creeps me out a whole lot. I would never want to live in a place that's so rural that no one could hear you screaming.
I can't say that word without sounding crazy.
Rural?
Rural.
What?
It just doesn't sound right to me. It just sounds like I'm gargling.
So, the first story in the dad's house. So, as a child, I was really skittish and hated scary things. So, my stepsisters thought it was a good idea to scare the shit out of me. Just creepy stories and stuff, but not many other things. Anyways, my step-grandparents always had a Halloween thing and a haunted hayride, and not my fondest memories. I think that's cool, though. Haunted hayride?
Haunted hayride is pretty fun.
10 out of 10 would do it.
The thing about haunted hayride is like a haunted house. Like, there are going to be employees who don't care because they've been standing out in the middle.
Bring a Nerf gun.
It's October. They've been standing out on this long-ass trail in the middle of the woods, typically, by themselves for a long time. And, like, I remember those, like, I've mentioned this on the show before. I took a haunted hayride out in, like, Podunk, Indiana, and, like, we're going along, and people are just, like, popping out, like, rawr! Like, halfway through, there's, like, a skeleton. It's a guy wearing a skeleton costume with his mask up, smoking a cigarette, just standing there, and, like, we rode past me.
Ruined your experience?
Boo. We just kept going. It was hilarious. But it's like, that guy's not really, he's breaking character, and I don't appreciate this right now. He cannot work at medieval times.
I really want to go to medieval times.
That's all she's talking about.
Who wants to sponsor us to go to medieval times? 10 out of 10. All right. So, I got so scared at their house one night. The 2 bedrooms in the back of their house make me feel sick, and I threw up. My dad's house, I disliked my half-sister's room, which was my old room. Both my stepsister's rooms, the girls' bathroom, by girls I mean my stepsisters and my bathroom, and my closet. So it's safe to say I normally sleep in my dad's den, but I'm scared of waking up and seeing a face in the windows. Totally understandable fear. They don't close the blinds. What?
That's craziness.
What sick people don't close the blinds? What do you want, people to stalk you and stuff?
Yeah, dude, like every time we watch a show and like someone's
like 13 Reasons Why when
yeah,
the girls
like,
are making out in front of an open window. Come on.
I kept yelling during that show and other shows like, why does everyone do this shit in front of an open fucking window, man? Like, have the common decency to close the blinds and shut the shades. Holy shit.
Which I don't get up to close due to fear my stepmom will get pissed. Sounds like your stepside sucks.
Stepside. Step monsters.
Second story from the dad's house. This one isn't that creepy, but once we were playing hide and seek and I got myself stuck in a cabinet in my step-grandparents' bathroom. Not a fun time. In asterisks, it says, this isn't about stepsisters, but I remember some kids shoving me in a bathroom and forcing me to play Bloody Mary and wouldn't let me out. So I just sat down and cried because I couldn't find the light in the bathroom and didn't know what else to do.
Aww.
I'm so glad my mom came to look for me. Those are horrible kids.
Yeah, they straight up
are. Horrible kids. So, third story, my grandmother's house on my dad's side is across from the dad's house, and her room and her guest room always creep me out. I was sleeping in the guest room one night and had a dream about an 18-wheeler in her driveway. When we went to look in the back of the truck/shipping crate, we found a dead body. The dream was black and white except for the red rose laying on the dead body. What the fuck? I've never had a dream like that. It's just crazy. Like, I can't imagine seeing that in a dream and not freaking out. You know what I mean?
Just crazy, creepy stuff?
Yeah.
You say that until you, like, start having them, and then you'll be like, something's wrong with me.
Yeah, I'll probably freak out.
Yes.
I will never sleep again.
You will. She was on the opposite side, as far away from me as she possibly could be the other day when I woke up, which means she had a bad dream where I did something mean.
No. He was a dick before bed, so I
did
woke
something
up
mean.
still
That's
mad.
totally not true. Where I did something mean, and I asked her, like, did you have a bad dream? And she told me yes. And it's funny because you're saying, like, I can't imagine having a dream like that. What did you dream that I did?
I don't even know what day you're talking
She
about.
told me she dreamt that I slashed her face up.
Oh, yeah, that was a weird one. Yeah, and my face was, like, peeling off. It was all, like, fucked up. Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a weird dream.
Because I was a quote-unquote dick before bed, which means I was like...
Oh, that was the one last night.
Which means that I basically said, like, hey, since you take up 90% of the bed, can I get 85? Because I can't even lay down right now. And she's like...
That's bullshit.
And then she probably just scooched all the way to the other side.
Bullshit.
Out of revenge.
Anyway.
It's totally true.
We also have 2 other houses on my dad's road where other family members used to live that are still abandoned. One of them had candles in them. One day, after leaving one of the houses, we turned back and saw the candles lit. Now they're plug-in candles, so they're not like fire candles. And neither of us had plugged them in, so we just ran back to my dad's house. At the other house, we found a wheelchair full of hats stacked in it. In one of the back rooms. We were looking in the back window since my dad was the only one with a key. So my friend came up to my dad's house one school break with me, and the chair was gone. I've got no clue what happened to it, and I'm not sure if I want to. That's crazy. People have to come in there and steal stuff sometimes.
Yeah, that's where my head immediately goes.
Yeah, so who knows? But that's the end of this particular email. We'll read the rest on the next episode probably for your whole list of stories. So thank you, Rebecca, for these.
Yeah, thank you for sending that in.
Stories.
We appreciate it. There's a lot of stuff there.
That is a lot of stuff.
I got to say, though, like, I cannot stand the concept of having a step family that just treats you like shit because it's almost like preemptive. Like, I have a stepsister or stepbrother or stepmother or step whatever. And they're like, we're going to be dicks just because if we don't do it, someone else will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, or you can just try getting along. I know a lot of people that have step families that are like, they just straight up don't even tell you they're their step family. They're just their family. And then at some point they're like, oh, well, we have a different dad, you know, or we have a different mom. And it's like, oh, well, that's kind of awesome. Well, I guess that's half brother. But like, you know what I'm getting at. Like, people are just like, oh, like, we're not actually related type of thing.
Right.
So just be nice to people, man. It's really sincerely not that hard. Except if people are just assholes to you, it's much harder to be nice back. But
it's hard to think of the fact that there are probably people living out there like Cinderella where this woman or person, man, woman, whatever, whoever comes into your life and is like, do my bidding, bitch, and treats you like shit, and their kids become like the golden children and you just get shoved to the corner. And it's real. That happens to people all the time.
Every time I think of Cinderella, I think of that meme where the prince is like, no, you can't go. And then the next cell is her like with her hand out like, first of all, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Like, I love that shit. All right.
Cool.
I'm going to go ahead and move into my last one of the episode, and it's also long. It starts out like this. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hello. To know if you guys still only read the beginning and end of emails before reading on air since I'm only on episode 12, but if that's still the case, you can totally share this story. I apologize. It's going to be long. Don't apologize. It's totally cool. My name is Tyler, and I have just started the podcast, in parentheses, found you on Spotify, shout out to Spotify, about 2 weeks ago, and I'm in love. Seriously, you guys rock. I'm telling everyone I can about the podcast, so if there is a recent influx of listeners, you're welcome. I'll have to check the numbers and see if there was an influx around this time, because thank you. We sincerely appreciate that. Anywho, enough about how much I love you guys and how I'm single-handedly bringing up your listener count. I have crazy anxiety, and I overthink everything. Hence, I went back and forth about 2 days deciding which story I want to send in for my first submission. I decided to go with one that has some photographic evidence to back my story. I will have to bring up the photographs after I read this, so if you reference them in the story, then we might have to take a little pause. We'll see what happens with it. It'll be edited wonderfully for our listening audience, for our viewing audience. There'll just be a little bit of vamping. It goes on to say, so a wee bit of backstory before I get into the meat and potatoes of the story. Growing up, my brother and sister and I were super into ghosts and the paranormal and all that shit. We spent most of our summers going to Arizona to spend time at my grandparents' house, in parentheses, I live in Southern California. When in Arizona, our cousins and us would continue our ghost hunting ways, and we had so many experiences at my grandparents' house. Seriously, their house was all kinds of fucking haunted. To top it off, my grandma loved to feed into our hobby and would tell us about things she saw in the house when we were little.
That's like both lucky and frightening at the same time.
Awesome is what it is. She was also a humongous troll and used our fear that built up from actually seeing and experiencing stuff to scare the bejesus out of us whenever she could.
That's evil.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to be that kind of grandparent.
So you want to be the grandparent that takes your pants off whenever you feel like it and scare your kids whenever you feel like it?
Separately. I don't want those two things to coincide, but yes. I respect the shit out of your grandfather because he travels to, like you said, like events at other people's homes.
He has no shame. It's great.
When he gets there, he just takes his pants off like it's his house. That's a fucking power move. That is big dick energy, people. That is awesome, and I want to do that shit. Just show up and be like, hey, my pants are coming off. My boxers have a button on them. Deal with it. It's like, that is awesome. All right. Goes on to say, okay, so fast forward to closer to present day. In 2015, my older brother passed away after struggling with alcoholism and depression. That's very sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
When he was alive, we would always talk about paranormal things and were always looking for old buildings and haunts in our area to check out and explore. On numerous occasions, he has mentioned that if he were to ever die before his time, he wanted to come back and, quote, haunt the fuck out of us. Cool, right? Anywho, he passed away in January of 2015. I got divorced in November of the same year and moved back to my parents' home. This was the home he lived in his entire life and was where he died. To make my life so much fun, in parentheses sarcasm, the only free room was my brother's old room.
Oh.
Almost immediately after moving in, I felt a presence in the room sometimes. My son, who was 4 at the time and is now almost 7, I think my math is right on that, would spend every other weekend with me as part of the custody agreement. I have stories about my son saying he would see and hear things about my brother, but that is for another time. Wow, that is super intense.
Yeah. But that happens a lot with kids.
Yeah.
And they talk about, sometimes they talk about family members they've never met before.
Yeah, they describe them perfectly.
And what happened to them, that's the creepy part.
Yeah.
Like, we had a story where their kid was saying, I have to buckle them in because they don't like it if we don't wear our seatbelts or something like that because they died in a car crash or something. It's just so intense when kids have stories like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's not what we're going to get now. We're going to get that later. So these are the stories they chose to tell us first, so they must be better or just good. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just excited. All right, it continues.
Are you thinking about medieval times?
No, I'm not. Not at all. It goes on to say, fuck, sorry, I'm rambling. Focus, man. Okay.
Are you saying that about us? Because
you're rambling about medieval times? Because in the break between stories, which none of the listeners will understand, Robin's planning this medieval times meetup that is just like a fantasy right now, but if it takes off, we'll definitely let all of you know.
All right,
getting back to this story. Okay, so this story takes place in our laundry room, actually. I went on a tangent about moving into his old room. Sorry. Even before my brother passed away, the laundry room always felt creepy. It's right off the kitchen, and it's a part of a new addition that was added to the house, so it's not like it's a basement or anything that is typically creepy. In parentheses, you're welcome, Robin.
Thanks.
But anytime I would go in there, I would always feel like there was something there. I would always get chills whenever I would turn my back to throw laundry in the wash. I'm not afraid of the dark, but to this day, I always turn the lights on in the room whenever I'm in there. My ex-girlfriend used to live with me, and she was terrified of that room. She would only do laundry in the middle of the day and refused to go to the room at night. When she would step foot in the room, she would say she felt a very heavy presence of an old man. She said the feeling was not happy, and she was always walking out of there shaking. Personally, I never felt a male presence or anything of the sort. I always just felt something was right behind me, following me into the room. Now to the nitty-gritty. One night, we were getting ready for bed, and we heard the rather distinct sound of the washing machine's lid close. You know the sound, kind of like a dull metallic thud. I think everyone just hears that in their head as soon as you said that.
I'm listening to that sound over and over again in my head.
We were both in bed and looked at each other, and I said that it was probably my sister. We had 2 dogs, and they both jumped up and started to walk around the room. I forgot to mention that when my ex-girlfriend moved in, we moved to the upstairs bedroom, which, you guessed it, is directly above the laundry room.
Oh my goodness.
Nice, huh? Tangent. Sorry. Okay, so me being the stupid person I am, I say I'm going to make sure it's my sister or maybe my parents. My parents live in Arizona at my grandparents' old house, but we're visiting during this week. I walk downstairs and look into the laundry room, and it's dark.
No.
I get a little closer and try to see as much as I can without getting too close, and you'll never guess what I saw.
What was it? Oh.
Nothing. Stop reading ahead.
Sorry.
Read your own emails, damn it. Nothing. No one in the room. Washer wasn't running. and I couldn't hear anything. So I breathed a sigh of relief before realizing that I'm a colossal dumbass. If a person was doing laundry, I would want someone to be in there. So I happily walked to my sister's room and knocked on her door and asked if she was doing laundry. She says no, and that she was getting ready for bed. She says she didn't hear anything coming from the laundry room either. I walked down the creepiest hallway in my house to my parents' room, but I can tell by the snores coming from the room that they are fast asleep. I think nothing of it and go back to my room, where I am promptly scolded for taking forever downstairs and leaving my poor defenseless girlfriend upstairs by herself. In parentheses, she had the fucking dogs, by the way. She wasn't defenseless, but I digress. I like that you tossed that in there.
Well, it's like she should be a self-reliant.
You're just going to quote the stuff that I said earlier because you asked me to carry your coffee because you didn't want to use your hands?
My hands were full. I had a sandwich and I had my
You were
drink.
sitting at the table eating your sandwich, drinking your drink. You had 10 minutes before the show. I was like, you really need me to carry this for you.
Yeah.
See, it's just the shit we deal with. I get you, person that wrote this. All right. We get settled, and I swear, as soon as I turned off the light by the bed, we hear the washing machine lid close again. This time I said, nope, fuck that, and turned on music, and we went to sleep.
That's when you, masking tape that. They're duct tape the lid closed for the night.
Then you're going to hear thung. Okay, the next morning we got up, and my girlfriend leaves for work. I was closing at work this day, so I didn't go in until 1:30. I checked the laundry room, and the washing machine door is open, so I have no idea what we heard. I asked my parents if they heard anything, and they said they did not. My sister leaves for work at about 9, and my parents leave to go on a Costco run at 12:30, and I leave for work. I got a text message from my mom about 3 hours later asking if I was playing a practical joke on the family. I ask what she is talking about, and she says there are chairs from the dining room table stacked up in the laundry room.
That's some poltergeist bullshit.
I tell her that I left literally 5 minutes after she did, and that as much as I love practical jokes, I wouldn't take the time to stack chairs. She says, okay, well, they aren't neatly stacked, and sent me a picture. I'll attach that photo at the end of the email, as I tried to embed it, and it fucked up the whole email. It freaks me out seeing the chairs like that, and I tell her to be careful taking them apart. Your mouth is open. You made the clicking noise.
It's poltergeist. I'm sorry. That's just so frightening. When chairs just stack up on their own and all that crap happens, no.
Should I take a break right now so that we can look at these pictures, or do you want to wait till the end of the email?
I want to see it.
All right, we're going to take a second.
What?
So just one chair. It's
That's
literally
a huge laundry room.
It's just, it is. It's just one chair. Holy fuck, I could live in that laundry room. It is one chair with a chair stacked directly into it. So they're not stacked,
but they're not
perfectly.
nicely stacked.
Yeah.
They don't belong
If
together.
no one was there, it would definitely be freaky shit. So, okay, cool. Now we know what we're looking at. We'll share it with you folks once we're done reading
That
this
takes effort to stack that way too.
I mean, it takes effort to move the chairs. All right. Fast forward to when I got home and the house felt different. My parents had already gone to bed, but my sister and girlfriend both say that my parents were freaked out and are going to leave to go back to Arizona the next day. They both asked if I did it, and I swore to them that I didn't.
That's messed up.
My girlfriend said the dogs were freaking out when she got home from work, and they would not go near the laundry room. I walked into the laundry room, proving that humans are stupid fucking creatures, and immediately got super cold. I got goosebumps and chills as soon as I crossed the threshold into the room. I freaked out and walked back out of the room. My sister was back in her room, and my girlfriend ran upstairs after I told her that I got super cold. I walk back towards the room and say out loud, okay, very good. If this is, in parentheses, my brother's name, well played, dude. We get it. Now cut that shit out. You're scaring mom and dad. That's amazing. Everything was cool for a few days until Saturday.
Oh, no.
I was upstairs having just gotten out of the shower when I heard my girlfriend scream from downstairs. I ran downstairs wearing only my boxers and a t-shirt. Proper burglar fighting apparel, if you ask me. I fly down the stairs and my girlfriend runs to meet me in the dining room, crying and pointing to the laundry room. I got a little leery at this point and walked into the room. I immediately felt cold again and the feeling that someone was right behind me.
What?
I turned to see if it was my girlfriend, but she was sitting at the dining room table. The cabinet above the washing machine was open and two of the detergent jugs were turned upside down. It was freaky as fuck, and of course, being the genius I am, I reached out to touch the bottles. In parentheses, have I mentioned how smart I am yet? I turn one jug right side up, but the second feels heavy as shit. I'm a big guy and pretty strong, but I swear on my son that I could not lift this fucking jug of detergent. That's a really common thing that I've heard people tell me in ghost stories was like there was something that they couldn't do. Like I couldn't open a refrigerator, or I couldn't get a door open, or I couldn't lift something that's supposed to be super light. Almost like someone's like holding it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, bro. Like, you can't see me, but I'm doing this to you. I tried with 2 hands and nothing. I said fuck it and decided to leave it exactly how it was and go to close the cabinet with the fucking jug, tips and falls out of the goddamn cabinet.
Wow.
As Adam so eloquently and frequently puts it, I noped the fuck out of there ASAP. I ran and got some sage, in parentheses, never let it be said that we aren't prepared for these things, and began to burn the sage and smudge the shit out of the room. I'm shocked you guys didn't do that after the chair stacking incident.
Well, like, maybe they didn't actually think it was anything too bad until this thing where he was like, I should have been able to move it. I couldn't move it.
Also, maybe it's the fact that he might have thought it was his brother. So it's like you don't want to smudge your brother out of your house if they're just playing a practical joke on you.
Yeah.
So that's a rough one. Since that day, my best friend and I have done some EVPs and stuff in the laundry room. What are the odds? I just covered EVPs. But I have never felt that coldness or bad energy in the room. My ex-girlfriend would still feel negative energy in that room, and to the day she moved out after we broke up, would only do laundry during the day with the lights on. I hope my story was intriguing, and like I said at the beginning of this, admittedly long, I have so many stories from my house, in parentheses, I still live here, and from my grandparents' house, as well as some of our ghost hunting adventures. If you guys are interested, we absolutely are. Please, please, please send them. Side note on the photos attached, we had 2 different dining room tables, one formal and one regular, hence the 2 different types of chairs. I checked around to see if there were scuff marks on the ground where the chairs might have been dragged, but I couldn't see anything. Also, the worst part of this story, other than being creepy as fuck, is our poor doggos were home alone while everyone was gone, and I can only imagine how freaked out they were seeing this shit. They got lots of pats and treats and snuggles after we went to bed, I promise. Thanks for listening or reading. I can and will send more stories if you guys are interested. Keep being amazing. Sincerely, your friend in spookiness, Tyler.
Thank you so much.
That was excellent, Tyler.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sending that in.
I can't believe you had to go through so many different weird things.
Yeah.
I would have pooped my pants.
So now we're going to take a look at that second photograph and see what it looks like. This is of the jugs turned upside down. They're like exactly upside down, balanced perfectly. So yeah, that is weird. It's not like the most paranormal thing, but at the same time, it's definitely something out of place, and it would be like, why would someone do that? But
you should be able to lift it up and put it back,
The lifting part is the weird part.
Yeah.
Like, why the hell wouldn't you be able to lift it? So, like, do you even lift, bro? Thank you for sending that in. We appreciate it.
Final email of the night. This one, subject says, Happy Haunted Household Part 2. Do we have a Part 1?
I'm sure we did.
Okay.
Is it from Anna or Anna?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. So this one is Frank and Other Noises. So it begins. Hi, all. Hi. Adam's drinking coffee. Are you ready for the next installment from the Happy Haunted Household? No? Well, too bad. Hopefully that was accurate. Probably not. Some refresher information on my home is that it was built in Chicago in 1905. I've lived in it my entire life, and it is haunted as heck. The next set of stories I wanted to share with you is about Frank, the older gentleman ghost in my house who prefers to be heard rather than seen. We don't actually know his real name, but as a child, I decided that his name was Frank, and it kind of stuck. The first experience my family had with Frank happened about 3 years before I was born. My older sister was a newborn at the time, and my mother was carrying her in her arms as she went down the stairs. When she reached the landing between floors, my mother heard a man say, "Oh, excuse me." She says that it sounded like an older gentleman and sounded close, as if they were passing each other on the stairs. Needless to say, my mom booked it down the rest of the stairs. At the bottom, she turned around and said, "You can stay here, you can live here, but don't talk to me and don't touch me."
Wow.
And from that time, Frank never bothered her again. However, Frank seemed to have no problem talking to anyone else, especially me. Countless times as I grew up, I would hear a male voice call my name Anna, or is it Anna?
It's Anna.
Anna, okay. From the first floor while I was in my room. Thinking my dad wanted something, I would go to the top of the stairs and call down asking what he wanted, but he would never respond. Often, I would get frustrated and return to my room, only to hear the voice calling my name again. Every single time this would happen, it would be the case that my dad wasn't even home. He worked in downtown Chicago at the time, at least 30 minutes by train. I wasn't the only one to hear this phenomenon. One time, I was hanging out with my mom in her bedroom, and we both heard it. There would be instances where neither my dad nor I would be home and it could be heard. Even my best friend growing up heard it when we were playing over at my house. Needless to say, we began playing more at her house than mine after that. Frank isn't the only one to have talked to people, nor has my dad's voice been the only one mimicked. Sometimes my sister and I have heard my mother's voice coming from a different room only to discover that she was in a completely different part of the house, and every so often the voices will call for someone else. Just a few weeks ago, Wednesday, May 8th to be precise, my grandmother, who was a skeptic before moving in with us, swears that she woke up late at night to hear me quietly calling her from outside her bedroom door.
That's so creepy.
She must have just freaked out because it's her granddaughter, right? Outside her bedroom door, and it's just someone quietly calling them.
How do you know that's not your granddaughter is my question. Like, how would you not get up and be like, oh, what do you need? You know what I mean?
I think she must have checked or something. Once you check, there's no one there, then you're like, well, shit, what's going on? Spoiler alert, it wasn't me. Otherwise, the instances when voices have called out our names have been much less common than when I was a child. As in any haunted house, there are other noises that can be heard practically all the time, such as creaks from the stairs, disembodied footsteps, whispered conversations coming from an empty hallway in the middle of the night, and something with small feet running back and forth across the empty attic. No way. You know, the usual. There are two small stories I want to share with you about the noises in my house. After my paternal grandfather passed away, we were cleaning out his house and I took my grandmother's crafting desk. The night I set it up in my room, I was awoken to the sound of something trying to open the drawers. As I normally do when ghostly things happen in my house, I told whatever it was to quit it and try to go back to sleep. But this time, it didn't work. Isn't it bad to talk to them anyway?
I mean,
you give them being?
You kind of give them, like, acknowledgments. So if someone was like, you can live here, just never fucking talk to me anymore, then it's going to go looking for other people to, like, mess with. Like, I mentioned it before. Like, I was told, like, if you ever see a ghost, to never talk to it, to never acknowledge it, unless you're going to tell it to leave.
Okay.
So
I kept hearing something pulling on the drawers and the items I placed on top of the desk shifting around. I even turned on the bedroom light and verified that there was nothing there, but the noises still continued. As I watched the desk, I heard its cabinet door squeak as if something was trying to open it. The noises didn't stop for about an hour. I will say this, I was freaked out and a little scared. But later, I was able to rationalize that the ghost, possibly the little girl Elizabeth, was just trying to check out the new big item in my room. They must have been satisfied because the desk never made another noise after that night. The next experience happened to my mom. She was home alone one night when my sister and I were at college, and my father was on a retreat. She said that it was one of the most active nights in the house that she had experienced in a long time. Before she went to bed, she said out loud, "I'm home alone and I need to go to work in the morning. The noises are creeping me out. Could you please be quiet?" My mom says that the house fell silent after that. Unnaturally silent for the house. No creaks.
that's creepy.
No settling.
Do you think the ghost casted spells where they're like, everyone keep it down, Jesus Christ?
Maybe. She's like, she has to work in the morning. I think that's frightening. Like silence. Today,
Too much silence when you know there should be some noise.
right.
Is
Today
just
in the
creepy.
office, it was so quiet. At work, it was just silent. And it was really disconcerting. I had to put something on to watch. The next morning, before she closed the door on her way to work, my mom turned back to the house and said, "Thank you." Immediately, there were 3 loud bangs, each coming from a different part of the house. My mom said, "It was as if they had been waiting for me to leave so they could make noise again. So even though the ghosts in my house can be noisy buttholes sometimes, they are also very considerate." Thank you for reading my next set of stories about my haunted house. I'm still deciding on what to share with you next, but there will be more coming. Love to all from the Happy Haunted Household, Anna. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. That's such a crazy place to live in.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird. It's kind of cool that you've kind of gotten used to it, but still,
Right,
like, I
it's
don't
still
know how
scary.
I don't know how I would deal with that. I want to give a quick shout out to NATYJI. Not sure exactly how to say it. Natty G sounds about right. They subscribed when we were not on the air for the first month. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was a solid story, man. I don't know what it would be like to live in a haunted house that wasn't like super haunted, just sort of haunted or haunted-ish, where you just sort of get on with your day-to-day life. I really do think it's hilarious where it's like, thanks everyone for being quiet. And like as soon as you leave, they're like, yeah, let's bang these pots and pans together.
Yeah.
Fucking sweet. So they were just keeping their Swayze quiet all night until they could finally let it go. That's what I call it when ghosts like make noise or interact with anything.
Well, all right.
They're using their Swayze powers.
Cool.
Watch Ghost. It's a documentary. It's amazing.
Okay.
So good stuff. All right. So one last thank you to everyone who sent the stories tonight. We appreciate all of you. Thank you to everyone who watched us live at twitch.tv/scarishpodcast and youtube.com/scarish. We appreciate all of you. Shout out to Spooky Sister who was in the room with us tonight. Thank you, Liz, for everything that you do. And shout out to Spooky Mom for doing all the editing on the emails. We appreciate you too. If you folks have a story you'd like to send us, please email storytime@scarish.com, which is our email address. You can go to our website, scarish.com, click on contact us, fill out that form, send it to us that way, or contact us on any of the social medias. You can go to facebook.com/scarishpodcast. @scarishpodcast is our Instagram. @scarishpod is our Twitter. And you can also join our Discord if you'd like. We have a really good community. I haven't checked the numbers on it, but it was up to like 250 the last time I checked. Everyone there is very inclusive, very welcoming, and very, very supportive. And it's a really fun place. And there's a lot of memes. We have spooky memes. We have not so spooky memes. There's like 2 separate channels. And if you're a meme person and you like to send them, it's a really good place. Really good source for that stuff. Shout out to everyone who posts there as well. It's a fun time. So a lot of you folks ask, how can we support you? Honestly, tell a friend. Share the podcast with another person. Or send us a story. Those are the best ways. If you want to do so with a little bit of dollar bills, y'all, Robin, tell them how they can do that.
Go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations, and we have a whole bunch of different tiers. Right now, there's a discount code that's exclusive to get access to the summer merchandise that we have going on for the new design that I put out, which I'm very happy with. It's so cute. You can go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast, and those are one-time donations that help us upgrade our studio setup.
We're going to be getting a new computer setup here very soon just because this laptop is starting to age and we put it through its paces like a lot. Like it runs everything all at once. We appreciate Asus. Shout out Republic of Gamer.
Oh my gosh.
I just have to say, like, this is the best laptop I've ever had and it's definitely hanging in there.
I have an Asus. It just doesn't run that well.
But it's run well enough for us to do the podcast. So shout out to all of our technology. We're saying this to inanimate objects because we want them to know how much we appreciate them because we depend on them and rely on them so much. But yeah, I think that's just about everything that we have for this episode of Scary-ish Storytime time. So go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.